Good morning, comic book fans! Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm Revelino Shorty, and it's been a while. Last week was very much just a bunch of random one-shots all tied into the ridiculous X-Men Age of Revelations thing, and I genuinely am not going to talk about that. This week isn't much better, at least there's a couple which stand out in terms of like brand new series, which I feel would be interesting to talk about. The first one we deal with is Supernatural, and I kind of liked Supernatural. I mean, I just realised, as I said, that I'm using the past tense, and I suppose that's true. I never finished watching the TV show. I think around about season 10 or 11, I was getting pretty tired with the power dynamics where they put in a big bad and then they had to deal with it, and that meant they had the power to deal with really powerful things, so the power level had to go up, and it's one of those diminishing returns things. But when it started, I really did like it. I thought it was one of the better Monster of the Week horror-themed TV series. Very much reminded me of Buffy, which I was and still am a big fan of. But yeah, Supernatural, I kind of eventually just feel like Buffy ended when it did for a good reason. Supernatural carried on too long. But I will check out a comic book. I will, because I like the characters. And there's really only a couple of things I think people are going to care about too much when it comes to a comic book of a beloved TV franchise like this. It's going to be, number one, just generally how good a comic book is it? And two, how does it play into the TV series? We'll deal with that bit first because I have a couple of issues here, but these are my issues. I genuinely don't know when this comic book is set within the continuity. I'm fairly sure it's not before the TV series because his reference to a couple of things I remember happening in the show to do with his mum, or their mum, should I say. And I don't know if it's after, but I never saw the ending, so I don't know. I didn't see any reference to like where it fell within the continuity, but it didn't really have that much of an effect. It felt like if you're going to do Bad Guy of the Week storytelling, then you can kind of just drop them in anywhere. If you're going to make reference to things that have happened, you can put them in there. You can use it for foreshadowing, you can use it to build up some plot threads that might be investigated later. But one of the things you can't do, and this is the big thing with the Buffy comic book as it was coming out at the same time as a TV show, you can't really do much that's going to drastically change the characters or the world because the TV series is already there. That's where the focus is going to be. The fact that it's already finished by this point means they definitely can't change anything unless they're going to go alternate reality, travel to different dimension kind of thing, which I'm not saying is impossible. But at least you know that it's just going to feel like classic Supernatural. And this first issue really does. We have a beginning set up for what's going on, which starts a little preamble just to give you a sense of who these characters are. And I will say the voices for the characters are really good. The script writing is done brilliantly, so I had the actors' voices in my head as I was reading it. And it reminded me the very first time I read one of the Big Trouble in Little China comic books. The voice of Jack Burton was exactly as it should be in my head. You could tell whoever wrote it. I think it might have actually been the guy who wrote the movie, knew what he was doing, and you got that really good sense. This one does a really good job. Like, the friendship between the two main characters, the brothers, the fact that they bounce off each other to a certain degree, but know it's never going to come to much other than that, and their personalities in the world as well. We then get a nice little bit of setup, some investigation, and some exposition. The ending comes with a little bit of a twist, which is to be expected, and it just gets wrapped up, problem solved. It doesn't just end there, which I quite like. We do get a sense that if you understand how narrative structure works, that there's going to be maybe some themes that are started in this first issue that will be developed later on, but it doesn't do a thing of leaving tantalising glimpses of a story yet untold. This is not trying to set up a mystery box. It's not going to, at least I hope it's not going to, keep referencing back to this. And I like that because it means if we do get a reference to it, it's going to feel more like, oh, cool, I remember this. I thought they solved that. It's going to feel far more natural rather than, oh, they're building up, they're adding more information, they're feeding little drips in. And I think that would be a bad choice to do because it doesn't feel very supernatural. In terms of whether or not it's a good comic, regardless of its connection to the TV series, I'm going to say yes. Like I say, I know the TV series well enough, and if you're watching a 5-minute comic book review on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever, you probably are going to be aware of the TV series. But I'd like to think that even if you didn't, these characters are fairly archetypal and are easy to get along with. Both of them are, like I say, well written, well placed within the world for you to sympathise with them straight off the bat. If I was going to give a criticism, it is only marginally to the artwork. I don't think the two main characters look as good as they could do. They're recognisable, but they fall ever so slightly into the uncanny valley. And that's always going to be the case when you're trying to recreate an actual thing. But the rest of the time, the artwork looks great. The action sequences and the supernatural element stuff actually feels really nice. It feels authentic to the FX level of the TV series with a little bit of extra twist, because you can go a little bit more when you're just drawing it. It doesn't cost anything extra to draw it slightly better. All in all, good start. I'd be interested to see where it carries on. That's it for me for now, though. Until I see you all again, look after yourself, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.